And here we are for day 14 of the Service to Purpose, the Mission is You challenge. My name is Brooks Holland. This is Flops out here by the lake. And today's topic is going to be forgiveness. But before we get into that, just a quick recap. First thing every day is we got to decide and we got to take full responsibility. We got to decide that we're in and we got to take responsibility for where we're at. Second thing, at least a gallon of water a day. You can add cayenne pepper and you can add lemon to that. And the third thing is eat real food. We're all grown-ups. Doesn't have, don't sit there. We know we shouldn't be binging on Swedish fish or whatever the junk is that's out there. So just eat real food, stick to a solid nutrition plan. The third thing, at least an hour a day of exercise. Get out and move, run, jog, jumping jacks, push-ups, whatever it is. Get out there, move your body. It doesn't have to be crazy scientific. And these are all things because we got to keep our body healthy. That's the first place we get to take control. And the last thing is no smoking, no alcohol, no weed, no unprescribed drugs, Xanax, those type of things. And also no porn. I know that's a big one, especially for a lot of guys, and especially guys that were in the military. I know that the porn thing is big and that's not healthy for you. So cut that out. And if you've been following along, the last couple videos, kind of going some places where it could be tough, because it's that emotion, which is what ends up driving, most of our behaviors in life. And, you start looking at those limiting beliefs, a couple of videos where we went through the process, there's an incident that happens, and we give it meaning or belief to whatever it is that happened. And with that, there's emotion, but that the meaning that we give to it drives the story, which drives our behavior, which drives our actions, which drives our results. And, I was talking about the toughest part is to go back and deal with the emotion that's tied to that piece when we get hurt, because we like to stay everything in our head. We like to do everything logically. And that's why today's video, we're going to talk about forgiveness. And the first person that you get to forgive is you, is yourself. I don't know about you, but there's nobody on this planet that's beat me up worse than myself. That voice in my head, my quote unquote high standards, my perfectionism, all the things, and, beating myself up. Nobody was worse at doing that than me. And so that's why I want you to forgive yourself. Everything in the past that's happened just as it's supposed to be. You're exactly in the right place, doing exactly the right things. That's why you're watching these videos. This is opening up your awareness, and this is how life begins to change. So the first person you get to forgive is yourself. And the next people you get to forgive, it all depends on what came up for you in those earlier exercises. I'll just use myself as an example. For me, my victim story all revolved around my dad. Since I was a little kid, I couldn't make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich right. Everything had to be perfect. I remember, with the little ice and water thing on the freezer door, we had a list. It said 99% is not good enough, because if it was, it had a list of all these bad things, like this many planes would crash a day, doctors would amputate this many wrong limbs a day, FedEx would lose this many packages a day, the power would be out this many, minutes a day, planes would crash a day. It was just all this list of stuff, which is true, and there's a benefit to attention to detail. But maybe the way it was executed, especially starting at such a young age, and just, it was relentless until I left for the Naval Academy. And, I had friends who used to kid around. They're like, you're the only person that's going to the Naval Academy is going to have less discipline. Yeah, and in a way it was. I mean, it was just, things were relentless. And it took me a long time to actually see the value in that. And so I guess that's really where it comes down to the forgiveness piece. I went, years without, really talking with or having much contact with my parents. And at one point, it was almost 18 years since I'd been home, to see my parents. And in 20 years, I'd only seen them like 4 times. And August 2 years ago, so coming up on 2 years, I was finally ready to forgive. I'd worked with, therapists, I worked for other people, I'd written letters, I'd had conversations, and it's like I would do it, I'd write the letter, like, it would feel good in the moment, but I was still like waiting for some magic to happen. Like, okay, I did this forgiveness thing, like, when's everything, supposed to just fall into place? And that's just not how it works. And I forget where I heard the quote, but it was something along the lines of, forgiveness doesn't condone, the person or what happened to you. But you will only choose forgiveness when you're ready to powerfully choose to stop swallowing the toxic cocktail of anger and resentment every day for the rest of your life. And you'll only choose it when you're ready to get free. And as in the process of doing a lot of work on myself, I finally reached that point about 2 years ago. And I got in my car. I told my wife I needed some time. I needed to go, I needed to go see my parents. And so I hopped in the car from California and I basically made a road trip all the way to Florida and back. I drove 5,832 miles. And basically, after not being home for 18 years, and I just kind of talked to my brother just to make sure that my parents weren't on some road trip. So they had literally zero warning. I just showed up unannounced and knocked on the door. And you want to talk about cutting loose one of those, what I call those 1,000-pound invisible anchors. I spent 3.5 days with my parents and it was huge. So everything deep down, everything that I ever wanted to air, I shared that with them, and they shared stuff with me, and it was just absolutely an amazing experience that, I wished I had done it sooner, but in the end, that was the right time. We're all at the perfect place, and all these things happen when we're ready. And I'll never forget even like that first 5 minutes. It was just basically like, just tears and hugging. It'd been a long time. And I think one of the hardest things for me, because most of my stuff was with my dad, but then the biggest thing for me I didn't really realize is like how much I'd hurt my mom in that process. I took off and I was gone. And even the times when we did talk, they were literally 90-second conversations where I didn't give up anything. They had no insight to my life. How are things good? How's the weather? Nice. Things are fine. Very tangential, just kept everything at a distance that was safe. And I left that house and it was just, after 3.5 days, it was literally amazing. And since then, I've had an awesome relationship with my parents. And again, all it took was for me to finally get to that point where I was ready to stop being a victim. I had to decide. I had to take responsibility. I had to stop being a victim, and I had to stop swallowing that bitter cocktail of, anger and resentment and those things every day, and, to work on, that next step of getting free from that. So all those limiting beliefs, they're all tied to something. It goes back. Doesn't matter. And people, I've worked with a lot of people that have had physical abuse, sexual abuse, things like that. I know that can be very hard. And again, forgiveness does not condone what that person did. Doesn't condone it at all. The forgiveness is for you. It's so you stop clinging to that. And that's really where your freedom is. And I know that it can take more than just hearing this in a video, because it's one of those things that I don't know, I have a gift for it, helping people to get through some of these things where they're stuck. And again, that's like yesterday's video, the ego comes into play and wants to keep you safe, so it won't let these things happen. That's why having somebody else, having a coach, having somebody else that's been through there help pull you through, guide you through, that's huge. So there you have it. Today is all about forgiveness. Forgive yourself, forgive. For me, I just use my dad as an example, but whoever that person was, that key person, forgive them. But also in day-to-day life, forgive. Somebody cuts you off, forgive them. Someone, the store or whatever, forgiveness, it's so much more freeing, such better positive energy, and it will definitely make you feel better. So there you have it. Service to purpose. The mission is you. I'm Brooks Holland, and I'll see you tomorrow for day 15. Give you a quick out here by the lake. Just being present. Flops, you like it out here, buddy? There's my boy Flops. So there we go. I'll see you tomorrow.